the stalemate between restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors. It continues. His agent, Aaron Turner, he told the Hoop Collective podcast that they're prepared to take the $8 million one-year qualifying offer. So the Warriors, remember, they'd reportedly offered a 3-year, $75 million deal, but the team is sticking with that team option in the final year, and that has been a sticking point. So whether it's a team or a player option, that would guarantee Kuminga $48 million in the first 2 seasons. Since we're talking money, we need to bring in Mr. Money Moves, Bobby Marks, our front office insider. Bobby, why would Kuminga take the qualifying offer instead of that guaranteed, $40 million more?
Yeah, first, give credit to Brian Windhorst. I don't think I've seen an agent come on a podcast and negotiate for his client like he did, Aaron Turner did with Jonathan Kuminga here. I think from his perspective, he's looking at it first. The $8 million qualifying offer gets him to unrestricted free agency next year. It also gives him the right to veto any trade coming forth. It was also mentioned, and Anthony Slater has mentioned this, that Kuminga has taken out an insurance policy in case he does get injured. So there is the mitigating cost as far as future salary that could be coming in. But I do think, Malik, I think there's a compromise here when you're looking at it. And I know we've talked about the 2-year, the team option here. I think you could still do the team option. And I think what you can do if you're Golden State, let Kuminga have the right to veto any trade. But here's a little wrinkle. If he was traded and Golden State exercised that team option, guess what happens? He no longer has the right to approve any trade any further. So I think there is a common ground, at least from the Warriors' perspective, to get a deal done, because I think this is kind of the last resort both sides want to go through, is have him play out on that 1-year deal.
Bobby, when I read that the Warriors had offered him the 3-year deal, the 3 years with the team option on the on the 3rd year, I felt like they were the ones who blinked. Like, that to me was a significant development in these negotiations. That was a concession, because all summer long it had been a 1-and-1 team option on the 2nd year. Now it gave him another guaranteed year. So that's, instead of being $24 million 2 years, but only 12 of that's guaranteed, now this is an extra $40 million guaranteed. That's a lot of money, and I felt like the Warriors already blinked by offering him that. And I know we're hung up on this team option versus player option, but Bobby, you tell me if I'm wrong, but that felt like in the stare down that Kuminga has already got them to move.
Well, I don't think they're going to move any further. I think certainly when you talk to people close to the organization, I think we're kind of here we are, right? It's either going to be the qualifying offer or it's going to be one of those offers that have already been on the table here. Listen, we've got 2 weeks until October 1st. That's the deadline when this qualifying offer goes off the table, unless Golden State wants to extend it. Remember, also, there's also that offer for 3 years. I think it was $54 million. That was straight, no options at all there. So there are different scenarios for Kuminga, but as we heard on the podcast, they're going to dig their heels in the ground here, and they're going to look at what's best for Jonathan Kuminga. And if it's what's best is 1 year and taking $16 million less, they're going to go out and do that.
And I think where people are maybe being confused is their perspective of what's best for Jonathan Kuminga is not necessarily maximizing the value of the contract. They're looking, Jonathan Kuminga thinks he is a blossoming star. Right. Clearly, the Golden State Warriors do not agree with that. Steve Kerr does not agree with that. Jonathan Kuminga wants to be in a situation where he can thrive. And he says, hey, if I'm leaving money on the table now, he's betting if he gets in a situation where he'll have the ball more, where he can thrive, that the money will come. You can agree or disagree, but his perspective isn't, let me get paid as much as possible right now.
Right, and you heard that up close on the Hoop Collective podcast. Again, Brian Windhorst, you can listen to that interview. It is up now wherever you get your podcast. So checking in our developing story in Golden State, contract negotiations between restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors, they were at a little bit of a stalemate here after the Warriors offered a 3-year, $75 million deal last week. This is all according to our Anthony Slater and Shams Charania. You can read more about this on ESPN.com. But joining us now is Anthony Slater. And Slater, I'm curious, at this point, just a couple of weeks away from training camp, what's the holdup now?
Yeah, I actually talked to Aaron Turner, Jonathan Kuminga's agent, this morning, and the messaging they're adopting this week is turn the TO to a PO and it's done. And that messaging is generally saying if it's a team option on that 3-year deal you mentioned, 74-ish million, if that's suddenly a player option, not only will Jonathan Kuminga sign it, they're saying, but he will be completely bought in on the mission that they're asking of him. which is, using Turner's messaging, that is to get Steph Curry and Draymond Green a 5th ring, Jimmy Butler his 1st ring, and that's an understanding of him that it's a show of goodwill if they send it to a player option for what they're calling years of confusion over his role, and a willingness to suppress some of his personal ambitions, which are obviously very much a part of the holdup here. Accept what's probably going to be a bench role, what's probably going to be fluctuating minutes, and accepting what will very likely be, a tradable contract. As they've mentioned, they've compared the deal to, a lower level version of the Jalen Green deal that Houston signed, which, Jalen Green, I think, is making about $33 million next year. Then it's a $36 million player option, saying he got paid by Houston to essentially also, know he might be traded. He was traded for Kevin Durant, and they just believe that if Kuminga is going to sign this and come in and buy in, as they want, he wants that to be a player option and not a team option. That's the holdup right now.
Turn a TO into a PO is very catchy, and it also makes a lot of sense here for Jonathan Kuminga. Slater, one thing you and I have been talking about is what impact this could have on the team, on the locker room, on a group that is trying to pursue yet another championship in the Steph Curry era. And Draymond Green, he weighed in on all of this on social media yesterday. He was pretty optimistic. He said negotiations are rarely easy, which is true, but they usually get done in the end. So that's what Draymond's saying. Where do things actually stand internally with the team waiting to see how this plays out?
Yeah, I would describe the veterans as calm and confident. Calm because they know the roster that's coming after the Kuminga domino, which we've talked about. Large expectation is Al Horford will be their starting center. That's important to them. And confident because Jimmy Butler apparently is, worked out really well this summer. Steph Curry's healthy. They think they can be good this season. Their curiosity, as I mentioned to you last week, is on the buy-in of Jonathan Kuminga. And right now, Kuminga's side is essentially saying, if you care about, the now, if the major priority is the Steph Curry this season, next season window to try to win a title, give Jonathan Kuminga control of his 2027-28 season. Because right now what the Warriors are offering, and they've been steadfast, no player option. They want the team option in the 3rd season. They're saying if you give Kuminga the player option, he's all bought in for this season, just like they want.
And thus the saga continues. Anthony Slater, thank you very much. We will continue to check in with you as new situations unfold here. But on the court, Jonathan Kuminga, it's been a little bit of feast or famine when you look at the numbers, right? Looking at the 2025 postseason over the 12 games, I'll wait for y'all. No, you can go without me. That's fine, too. The Warriors, when he played, look at this. He had 4 DMPs. On the other hand, he also had 3 20-point games when Steph Curry was injured. So one of our favorite Tims joins us in studio now. Tim McMahon, how much do the Warriors need Jonathan Kuminga here? What do they need him to be? Because we're talking a lot on this show about a player who has had spot minutes for the Golden State Warriors.
Howdy, Malika. Spot minutes is a nice way to say this dude had 4 DNP CDs in the first round of the playoffs. Do they need him as a player? No, clearly not. They need him as an insurance policy. They need him as a trade asset. He understands that. That's why he is trying to get as much control in that contract as he possibly can. And right now, turn a TO into a PO. Right now, it's just PO.
I like that.
So, that's where they stand. But as a player, they don't need him as an insurance policy, a trade asset. They clearly want him there.
But some context to those DMPs. Remember the postseason, he was basically told he would not have that much of a role.
That's
then
right.
Steph goes down, and now it's like, oh, well, you're here, and then you have no rhythm to go out there and produce. That's why I look at the regular season. They were 3rd, I believe, in bench scoring, the Golden State Warriors. That's largely because of Jonathan Kuminga averaging around 15 points per game. He was their 3rd best option when it comes to their final roster in scoring. So, I just don't like the oscillation back and forth, because going into training camp, this is a team where we used to say, like, strength in numbers, all family and all those types of things. The last few years, they've had a little bit of drama in the preseason. and I'm underselling it. Yeah. Like, they need to be able to sort this situation out. And if it means giving him a player option, I don't think that should be a deal breaker for the Golden State Warriors. I understand that you want to maintain as much control as you can, but you need this guy to compete. Because if you look at the landscape of the West, so many teams are getting so much better. Look at the state of Texas. Look at the Lakers. The Clippers. Everyone's improving, and now you're just with your hands tied because of the situation. I don't want to say free him, but just let him help him be his best self.
My thing, who is the most important player on the Golden State Warriors?
Steph Curry.
It's clear and it's obvious. And all these negotiations, let's make it a team option. We don't want him to have a player option. For 27-28, we don't even know who's going to be on that team in 27-28. For the Warriors to, in my opinion, maximize Steph Curry, who is one of the greatest players who have ever played the game of basketball, to maximize him right now, they have got to figure out a way to make this work. And if Jonathan Kuminga's team and his people are saying that he will be bought in if a player option is involved in this, I don't see why they wouldn't do it. Because you're trying to win right now with Steph Curry. And the worst thing you can have is someone in the locker room who doesn't want to be there or doesn't feel valued in the organization.
Yeah, what the Warriors are doing, they're trying to have their cake and they need it too in terms of maintaining flexibility for the likely post-Steph, Draymond, Jimmy future. And Kuminga sitting here saying, hey, I'm probably not even part of the post-trade deadline future, so that's not my problem.
Yeah. Talking to folks around the Golden State Warriors, there is a sense of optimism that something is going to be settled here in the next couple of weeks. The level of happiness by all parties, that's what remains to be seen here.